This next thing I want to talk about is a little bit amorphous, but it's something you discussed in your Charlie Kirk shooter video a little bit when sort of comparing him to the Evergreen shooter. And the topic is online radicalization. So I have 2 articles I'm going to read here, just a segment from each of them. So this first one is by NPR. We come down here, you remember, the shooter had different engravings on their bullet casings.
Sure,
and
memes.
All of the engravings were referencing memes. Initially, the governor of Utah comes out and he says, well, these are obviously leftist slogans. One of them says, hey, fascist, catch. And the other one is talking about transgenderism. Turns out it's not really transgenderism. It's an old furry meme. Notices
he doesn't know the difference.
Yeah, it's the same thing to him. So we know every single one of the casings had memes on them, and we know that the Evergreen shooter was radicalized online to kill people. But with this Charlie Kirk shooter, it's a little bit up in the air with their exact motivation in particular. And we probably won't know that unless they turn out to be an honest guy and discuss it in court. I saw the most recent court hearing, and it didn't really seem like it was going that direction. He didn't even show up. He just listened. He was present for it, but he didn't say anything. And I think he's probably just going to stay silent. Usually, especially like with conservative families and stuff, there's a whole bunch of people in the wings helping them maintain their like reputations in their like area. If it's anything like what I learned from Breaking Points, the book about John Hinckley Jr. Shooting Reagan, but
he was super incoherent.
Yeah.
That guy did not make any kind of sense. Same for Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know the history of Lee Harvey Oswald, but he is a absolute lunatic. You can't pin him any ideology down on him.
And that's sort of where I'm going with a little bit of this. So when we read this part on here, there's a guy in this article named, I think it's Michael Centers. Michael Centers. He's a PhD candidate at Virginia Tech's Aspect program. They focus on online radicalization and online culture. And basically the closest meme to being an actual anti-fascist thing is this Bella Ciao song, which I guess was also in video games, so we're still not exactly sure, but that song is popularly known as an anti-fascist meme. Anti-fascist song, whatever the synonym I'm trying to think of is. I did want to read this part. For those who study political and extremist violence, the substance of the messages on the bullet casings is far less revealing than the simple fact that the shooter made the inscriptions at all. They say this act, combined with information revealed through other news reports and contained within the charging document in Utah, indicate that the suspect was thinking deliberately about how he would ultimately be situated within the universe of mass shooters and high-profile killers in the U.S. Centers said it was particularly revealing to read about Discord chats that Robinson reportedly participated in after the killing, where he claimed his doppelganger had committed the shooting and that he'd better also get rid of this manifesto. What he was doing here with this act was very performative, said Centers. He was performing internet culture, and specifically mass shooting culture in general, with the etchings on the shell casings being memes, with the joking about having a manifesto. It's all very performative in that regard. Now, this whole thing is very reminiscent of other shootings in the past. And the one that specifically like popped in my head was the Christchurch shooting. Now, there's also an article that was published the day of the Christchurch shooting. For those who don't know, the Christchurch shooting was a shooting that happened in New Zealand where someone shot up 2 mosques, and they recorded it like a first-person shooter video game, and it was able to stay on YouTube because of this for a while, because the auto moderation couldn't tell that it wasn't gameplay. Twisted and fucked up. But there's another very interesting aspect about this, and it's the same being tied to internet internet memeing and the performative nature in this. So here's a quote from one of my favorite podcasters in this article. The article's title is How the Christchurch Terrorist Attack Was Made for Social Media. And here's a quote by Robert Evans, the host of Behind the Bastards. But this manifesto is a trap itself, laid for journalists searching for the meaning behind this horrific crime. There is truth in there and the valuable clues to the shooter's radicalization, but it is buried beneath a great deal of, for lack of a better word, shitposting. In other words, the whole thing could be described as one big exercise in murderous trolling. Take another example. Before the attack, the gunman told his online viewers to subscribe to the YouTube channel PewDiePie, who has 89 million followers on the platform. PewDiePie, a Swedish gaming YouTuber whose real name is Felix Kjellberg, has in the past promoted alt-right themes and attracted criticism for lauding an anti-Semitic YouTube channel. What I find really interesting about this is that while there was an instigation and a trolling factor regarding like an online type of culture, both these people had separate political instincts, at least from like what we can tell facially. And I wonder personally if this is as much the cause of an existing internet as it is just the new medium by which we interact with information. And before the internet was like big and popular, and I mean concurrent with the early internet, there are mostly right-wing mass shooters who do this leaderless resistance terrorist attack thing that's derived from philosophy that's in conservative textbooks like the Turner Diaries and stuff like that. My opinion would personally be that while it's freaky seeing something like this, someone doing like a murder ironically, I don't see it as being such a big break from the norm of like human behaviors. And I think that as opposed to restricting access to information, there has to be a way to, or like there has to be like a method that people can employ to sort of change people's incentives. Why do people like feel the need or the urge to maintain like a popular image ongoing online as like a shooter? And how can we motivate people to want to do something like cool instead and make that the thing that they're like known for, you know? And there's no question mark at the end of that other than just being like, how do you feel about it?
It's nihilism, plain and simple. When I look at the this kid who shot Charlie Kirk, allegedly, most likely, because I haven't gone down to the conspiracy rabbit holes. I've been seeing them. I can put on my tinfoil hat and I can tell you what Alex Jones is going to say about it, and I can come up with some of those things. But I've stopped being a conspiracy theorist, so that pops up every now and then. But the way I see it, he was raised by this conservative family. He was raised by Republicans. He was raised in a very tightly contained family. And when he got to college, he got some freedom and it felt good. And he started exploring. He started being alive. Have you ever met someone who was like a preacher or a reverend's child? Like their parent was a reverend in a very strict authoritarian type household they grew up in. This happens with Catholic schoolgirls too. When they get a little bit of freedom, they go wild. They go insane when they get to college because they were repressed for 18 years. This happens to Navy men who are on the ship for a very long time. When they pull in for shore leave, they just turn into animals because they've been cooped up for such a long time. This is normal human behavior that he was doing by going to college. He was repressed for 18 years. He went to college, and that's why the conservatives complain. They piss and moan all the time. My son went to college and he came back a raging liberal. It's because you were preventing him from being who he was. You were constraining what was possible for those people, and that's what small town America does. It constrains you, and that's why the kids leave and they become liberals and they never come back. that happened to this kid whose name I forgot. Tyler, maybe, or is it Taylor?
Tyler
I don't remember.
Robinson.
There we go, Tyler. So this happened to Tyler. He found freedom. He found happiness with another man. Now, he does not want to bring that information back to his family, and when he looks at his newfound freedom, he sees an enemy. Charlie Kirk is now his enemy, and he has converted, making him the strongest of zealots. Nobody makes a zealot better zealot than a convert, you know. So if you were a certain way and then you change to something else, you dive into it head first. Nobody tiptoes into a complete life change.
Yeah, true that.
And so he sees this threat to his freedom, and I that puts him in, and I don't want to say this in a positive way, but this puts him into the revolutionary idea. He thinks he's a revolutionary. Now, I don't think I'm not calling for him to do what he did, but what he saw from his position is someone threatening his freedom. We had an entire American Revolution about people not accepting the authority, telling them what they can and can't do. And they did a revolution that has worked out well for us, usually. But it's awful, and it's violent, and it's dangerous. And am I comparing him to George Washington? No. But he felt like he was George Washington.
Yeah.
And that's not a good thing to feel. I don't think that he's correct. As far as online radicalization goes, the internet is a lot of things. And one of those things is a sewer. 4chan was one of those places that the kids don't go there anymore. Only middle-aged white men go to 4chan anymore, like J.D. Vance and Stephen Miller. The internet is also a marketplace of ideas. Do you have that photo of the painting, the School of Athens? So if you look at that photo is, what is it, like Socrates talking to Plato or some shit? That's the marketplace of ideas. If you imagine that photo, that famous painting, if you imagine that painting as the actual marketplace of ideas for a minute, if you allow free discourse of anything by anyone to take place in that wonderful looking painting there, the online fascists will install a pipeline that just spews sewage all day long, because they're nihilists and they hate you. You and I might be trying to discuss the complexities of human free will versus the material conditions of our society. You know, real deep stuff. And we'll have to do it standing knee deep in liquid shit, while trolls scream slurs at anybody who walks by. And even then, this marketplace of ideas, this is the flaw within the marketplace of ideas, is that you have to let in the flat earthers and the anti-vaxxers and the disingenuous Christians who want to save children from woke ideology, but ignore all of those religious people who are convicted of assaulting children.
Right.
The internet is an information exchanging technology, yes, and most of the information on it is shit. And I always point towards Sturgeon's Law. Do you know Sturgeon's Law?
I don't think so.
You can look it up on Wikipedia, but Sturgeon's Law basically says 90% of everything is crap. 90% of the movies you watch that are produced are crap, and you don't want to watch them. I don't watch 90% of the movies because I don't want to. I think they're bad. I don't read 90% of the comics because they're probably bad. I don't watch 90% of the anime because I just wouldn't like it. It's crap to me. So that's what Sturgeon's Law suggests, that 90% of everything is crap, and the only things that aren't are the things that you like. And that's the way the internet is. Being an online conspiracy theorist a long time ago, I just ate up all of this stuff. I wanted all of these alternative ideas, and what it led to is just my brain being too open to everything and not accepting reality. Yeah, I radicalized myself online, and then I had to unradicalize myself. Yeah.
The only thing that this photo is missing is Pepe the Frog shitting all over the floor.
Yeah, that's what we need. It needs a big old pipe that's just spewing sewage, because that's what they do, and that's why you can't. That's the flaw of the marketplace.
This is Waldo. Waldo is a political analyst on YouTube, a fellow political analyst. And here, do your thing.
Oh, hi. How you doing? My name is Waldo, and I'm here to feel the politics with you. I stream Wednesday nights and Saturday mornings. If you go to YouTube, you look up Waldo and politics, you'll find me.